Welcome to Integration Nation for Allison Sullivan's Integrative Mental Health Team. I'm Dee Daniels, and wow, we have our capes on today.
Yes, we do.
I mean, we are talking superpowers, and this is going to be, I know already, one of my favorite episodes, Allison. Listening is a superpower. Listening is one of my favorite things to talk about anyway, you know, under the communication umbrella. It's one of those things, and you're right. It is a superpower, and we want to get into that.
It's a total superpower. And first, I want to assure people that this is not a podcast about the usual blah, 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 blah. Yes, we should all listen better. We're not listening enough. Don't listen to respond. All that usual stuff people hear about listening. This isn't to shame, to criticize, to guilt. This is about exploring and revealing actually how magical listening is, how it fosters and cultivates connection within us and around us. And at the end of the day, as long as I've been doing this, that's really what people want. They want a deeper, more present connection with themselves and their experiences. And listening is the superpower to do that.
All right, we're going to get into that in just a moment. I really want to talk about the hub of this operation, which is the website.
Oh, yes. And Haley and her super skills.
I mean, seriously, Haley is a superhero in our lives, and Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org is the website. You're going to want to go there because it really is the hub for everything that you want to get to.
It's a hub for everything. It's in the upper right-hand corner. My current favorite thing about the website and Haley's magic are these 4 cute little buttons.
Yes.
It's every other way besides the website that you would want to get in touch with us. There's a Facebook button. There's an Instagram button. There's a YouTube button. There's a Pinterest button. And on Pinterest, we have all our original aromatherapy blends. So it's as easy as a click to the website. Everything is there. You can also subscribe to the podcast there. Integration Nation has its own tab. All things Integration Nation are on that tab, including the cool free handouts that we often have accompanying the podcast episodes. You can subscribe to our newsletter. That's the best way to get the first wave of details about workshops when they come available. And it's a great way to leave us comments and questions about the different podcast episodes.
Yeah, you'll want to stay tuned at the end of this episode for another Q&A section because this is going to be a great one. We're going to be talking about some of the comments that we've received recently about recent episodes. Really some powerful stuff, really some powerful episodes, just not that long ago that I know that people are like itching to hear more about. And we've gotten some really great comments about those. If you have a comment, you can drop those off at any of those places we just mentioned, Facebook, Instagram, any of those places, and drop an email on the website, anything like that. Even if you want to drop one and keep it private and anonymous, you can do it there too.
Absolutely.
Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org, the place to go. It's the hub, I'm telling you. You're going to want to go there and check it all out. And if you've missed any of the episodes, that's also a good place to go back. And
we have some of our most popular episodes on the website. And again, because of the masterful skills of Haley, we've got these beautiful buttons on our Integration Nation page. Really, it's as easy as a click on those buttons and you can subscribe to our podcast for free. So when new episodes become available, they automatically download onto your device and then they are there for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, and you can always just have them as soon as they come out right there on your device, which makes it super easy. If you love the podcast, and I know you do, share it and make sure you give it a 5-star rating and a review. That always helps so much, especially when you share it with other people and tell them how to get it on their device. All right, I'm listening to you, Allison.
That was excellent. Way to go, Dee. I like that a lot.
I'm locked in.
For everyone who cannot see us, Dee is grinning ear to ear. She is very pleased with herself about that.
I love this. This is going to be such a great topic. I know that a lot of us feel, myself included, like we struggle sometimes with being an active listener, a good listener, a locked-in listener, a present listener. That is something because we have so much noise around us. We have a hard time with that, and you really have to do remind yourself, I need to be present here.
Yes. Speaking of noise, we just heard the train whistle. In the spirit of that, I just think it's wonderful that happened when we're talking about listening, because here's what I wonder. I wonder if some of the concern about listening is from a couple of assumptions that people are making. And one of those assumptions, I think, may be, if I spent all this time and effort in learning how to listen, where is there space for me? And that's just one more thing on my to-do list. And that's just less for me. And I'm already overwhelmed. I already feel like I'm disconnected. So making time for one more thing, now I've got to learn how to do one more thing. I don't want to do that. And I think that's not at all what we're talking about. What we're talking about is stuff that people, I'm betting, are already doing in certain areas of their life. For instance, when you're getting lost in music, music is such a powerful vehicle for understanding the power of listening. I mean, I've been taken away by music almost on a daily basis. I'm sure you have. Mm-hmm. And when we're present with that, when we're really just in the moment with that experience and what that music is offering us, we're listening. We are there. We are just there with the music. And then we've also had experiences where the music is just the background and we're not really connecting to it.
Right.
And it's a very different experience. I don't walk away from those experiences feeling like I'm enriched, like I'm relaxed, like I'm inspired, like I'm energized. I don't come away from those feeling that way. But I do if I am really listening to the music that's playing. So that's a starting place, I think, for people to start to open up to. That's really what we're talking about. We're not talking about one more thing on your to-do list. We're talking about just opening your awareness to the idea that this is already happening in your life in some areas.
I think one of the things that we are all seeking is that connection. Listening really gives us that avenue to the connection, gives us that window to connect deeper with someone that we're talking to, especially, when we're talking to one of our children or we're talking to our partner, especially when we're in those moments when this person, you do want to connect deeply with them.
Yes. So as I often do, let's take this back to our relationship with ourselves first. If we are not listening to ourselves, if we're not listening to our bodies, if we're not listening to the sensations in our bodies, if we're not listening to our emotions, to our thoughts, if we're not present with ourselves, we're not getting accurate data about what's going on. And that's going to impact literally every single thing we're involved in, because we aren't guiding, the ship, so to speak, because we're not paying attention to the data that we are getting. And so many times the mixed results or the uncomfortable results that people are getting in their lives is at least in part connected to that, because they're not listening to what their body is saying. So even in simple ways, let's say you go into a store and there's something about the store, a scent, an energy, a way that people are interacting with you that's making you uncomfortable in some way in your body. Either you're getting a headache, you're feeling tight in your chest. If you're just disregarding that, it can end up to create a problem for you later. Maybe you have an upsetting interaction. Maybe you end up purchasing something that later you don't like. You don't understand why you don't like. If you just take a minute to say, okay, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right here. I'm not comfortable here. I'm just going to leave this. Then already you've increased the intimacy and the connection with yourself, and you've potentially spared yourself, a problematic situation down the road. When we then extend that to our relationships with others, it supercharges the satisfaction that we have in those relationships, because we're actually hearing what's going on. You brought up a really important point about parents and children. So sometimes, especially with younger children, when it's the end of the day, parents are getting home from work, children are hungry, there's a million things going on, and some kind of behavior erupts. That's when parents, listening isn't first on the menu.
Yeah.
It's let's just quiet the disturbance so that we can get this to-do list done. However, taking the time to listen and figure out exactly what the source of the behavior is, what the exact nature of what's going on is, actually is what calms everything down and creates the openness for a peaceful evening, for connection, for the opportunity for everybody to feel better in getting the to-do list done to begin with.
That's powerful because you're in those moments when you're like, and I've got about 2 seconds of patience left here from my day already.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes, and it's going to take a risk for people to start to try this because it's going to feel in the moment like, no, listening is not what is called for here. Yeah. Quieting the storm is what's called for. However, listening is the way that you quiet the storm, because when we hold space for ourselves and for another, that's what allows people to feel seen and heard. And when we feel seen and heard, we feel connected and we feel like we belong. And when we feel like we belong, it connects us to the peace within ourselves and around us.
That's like instant connection.
It's instant connection.
It really is. When you feel like, when your child feels like they belong, when you feel like you belong, when your partner feels like they belong, when your friend feels like they belong, when your coworker feels like they belong. That's like instant, like pass to connection.
Yes. Yes. Instant pass to connection. And another really concrete example is, so, let's say you've fallen. You're walking down the street and you've fallen. If you don't listen to any of the sensations after the fall in your body, then you can be creating a situation that increases an injury potential down the road. And that's true in a really simple, concrete, physical situation. That's also true in really complicated emotional situations that we find ourselves in. When we do not listen, we're actually starting a snowball of a complicated chain of emotional events that's going to catch up with us down the road.
Yeah.
So it's preventative. People understand the power of preventative medicine. Listening is preventative mental health medicine.
Oh, that's so good. It is.
It absolutely is. You take 5 minutes of discomfort in listening to a child's distress when you feel like you can't, and it likely will elicit hours of peace and connection and snuggling later.
Right? Yes. That is really good. It's preventative.
So preventative. And that's the source of the superpower. It is really preventative. It fosters connection. It fosters belonging. And at the end of the day, I am more and more convinced that that's what it's all about.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things when we were getting ready to, make some plans for this episode and talking about listening being a superpower, which I just love. All of a sudden, I want to put that on a T-shirt. I'm not going to lie, with like a big S and an L
Integration
or
Nation trademark.
Hashtag Integration Nation. Yes, please. We've made so many T-shirts and bumper stickers in our minds. Yes. We're going to be rich in our minds. And so I when we were making plans for this, I immediately thought about something that I struggle with, that I know a lot of other people struggle with. One of the things that I really have to be aware of is sometimes when I am listening, I check out for a minute and I start to think about what the next thing is that I want to say.
Yes.
And I know that sounds horribly selfish, but it's my truth, and I do struggle with that.
I think most people struggle with that. I really think that if people are even remotely willing to be honest with themselves, that's a part of their story too.
So it's something that I know that I want to be more aware of, and I know that you also have some ideas as to how we can really get better with this listening skill and some ways that will lead us there a little bit easier of a track, maybe?
There are some practical ways that we can start to get in the flow of this. However, let me also say that I think many times that desire to say something is well-intentioned, because I think it is in some ways connected to connection. I want to hurry up and connect. I want to show them that I understand, that I connect, that we have this in common. And so this is not about, like I said in the intro, this is not about criticizing people and trying to make them feel bad. I think it is a misattuned attempt to connect. And here's what I'm going to offer people as something to try in those moments when you feel that impulse to, oh, I've got something. To at that moment to say to yourselves, I'm just going to actually put that on a shelf and open up to what else is here for me to discover in what they're saying. Because when you do that, it opens up the channel for an increased depth of connection, an increased understanding, and maybe an angle of what they're sharing that you didn't see coming, that you can connect with on an even deeper level when they're done sharing.
I remember I was in the middle of a talk with my partner, and we are just having a sharing kind of a moment. And I had one of those moments where I thought, ooh, I have something. Just like you said.
Yes. I know. I got something. Me next.
Now, in that moment, I did take a breath. And I did put it in a little envelope in my mind, and I set it over here and kept it on the shelf, like you said. And the most amazing thing happened, exactly how you said it. She ended up sharing something about herself that I've never heard about her before.
And that's the magic that's available.
It was beautiful.
What did you feel when she shared that with you?
I felt amazing. I mean, I really felt like, we connected in a whole different way.
Exactly. That you could not have seen coming.
And it was something that I was so thankful that I now know, or that I now heard. And if I would have stopped and shared the thing that I thought of, that I put in the envelope, then I would have interrupted that moment. And it may not have come out.
Yes, it would have interrupted the flow.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things we learn in clinical training that I'm so appreciative of, because as someone who naturally wants to help, new clinicians, as soon as they get an idea, I've got something that can help, you want to share it. And in clinical training, you're taught to really be with the unfolding of the client and what the client is bringing to you, and waiting until you're clear they've finished sharing and revealing that portion of themselves and the situation that they want to. And without fail, doing that in session provides a deeper, more effective way to intervene to support the client. Jumping in, it cuts it off.
Yeah. It messes up that flow that you were talking about.
It does interrupt the flow. It's like a kink in the hose.
Right. And then whatever's coming out has become a trickle now.
That's right. And then it stops and there's no more flow.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times you can't get that moment back.
You can't get it back. And then there's also, both people register that something was just a little off. I could see it in your face when you were sharing it. When you have those magical moments where you've really held space for the whole share, you don't forget those moments.
No, you don't.
And that's, again, part of the superpower that I really want people to hear. You do not forget those moments. And I bet the people that are listening now, I bet some of you have those moments that you're thinking about that seemingly came out of nowhere. I'm going to suggest to you that they didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of the space that you were holding through listening.
Yes. Yes.
So here's some practical ways that people can develop listening. Just listen for the sake of listening for small segments of time with no agenda. So sit in a chair by a window, just sit for a minute and listen to what you can hear outside of the window. Then switch your attention to what you can hear inside of the window, and back and forth. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just see what happens. Also, again, music is a wonderful way to really reinforce this. Pay attention to how you feel when you've got earbuds in and you're just really in the music that you're listening to. You are just in it. And then pay attention to when you're kind of checking in and out with it. It's a completely different experience. And then just really checking in from time to time during your day, wherever you are, and just starting to listen to the sounds around you.
That'll ground you in a minute.
In a minute.
I love doing that. I've done that. Sometimes you get in this kind of anxious moment, where you're just feeling something and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And you bring yourself, it makes you present again. And I think you're right. How great that's going to translate into communication and listening to other people.
Yes.
Okay, what can I hear right now?
Yes.
Just brings you right back there.
What else can I hear? And much like Brian shared about so magically in the episode that we did, The Emotional Life of Our Bodies, there's all kinds of ways we can listen. We can listen to gestures. We can listen to expressions. Mm-hmm. We can listen as he does in his work with our hands through touch. There are so many ways that we can expand our definition and kind of our template for what listening means. It's so much more than just listening to words.
Yes.
It's listening as much to what is not being said as what is being said. It's listening as much to how it's being said as how it's not being said.
I remember vividly this example of exactly what you're saying. The first hug of the day after you get home from work, and listening without words was the example. In that hug, probably about the longer you held the hug.
Yes, the longer. You have to go a little beyond the first time you're tempted to break the hug.
Yes. That comfortable moment when you're like, and we're done.
Okay,
but you go past that.
Yes, you go past it.
And about, 10 seconds into that hug, all of a sudden, everyone's body relaxed.
Oh, yes.
I love that moment and that hug.
Yes.
It's hearing that, because what I hear and what everyone is saying is, gosh, I'm glad to see you, and you're my safe place at the end of the day.
And no words. No words. You just had to be willing to be in that space and then hold that space just a little longer.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about here, and that's the superpower of it. I think another thing that we may want to address is the discomfort people have in listening to distress.
Yes.
That's really real every day. It's hard to be with people's distress. Really hard to do that. So in a general way, let me share this example. So one of my children years ago had a really distressing situation and a pivotal experience in their lives. And they were understandably super upset about it. So I went and sat on their bed to listen. And about 5 minutes in, it got super painful to listen because the pain was so raw and so deep and understandable. I wanted to hurry up and fix it. So much. And breathing through that, allowing them to just share their pain and just listening to it, not trying to move it, not trying to hide it, not trying to fix it, just witnessing it, standing beside them, staying within myself through my breath within like 20 minutes. And that's a long time. It can feel like a really long time when you're with somebody you love and there's that degree of distress. At about the 20-minute mark, suddenly my child was able to start tapping into their own innate wisdom and resilience.
Wow.
And start to say, even though this is painful, I also know this. And I also understand that I'm going to be okay in this way.
Wow.
And when we hold space, that's the other superpower aspect of listening, because it provides people the space to access their own wisdom. And then what we've done for them is we've mirrored to them that they are strong and they are capable and they are wise and they just need a little support along the way. And ultimately, isn't that what we want for the people we love? We want them to feel capable and competent, and we don't want to have to feel responsible for doing their work for them. And so that's the other aspect of the superpower of listening that I want people to really consider, that when we can manage our own distress, when we're listening to someone we care about in distress, it really helps both people involved access their inner wisdom and strength.
It's like those healing tools sort of like rise up to the top.
Yes.
You're just holding the space.
Yes. You just have to air out the stuff that's standing in the way of that innate wisdom. And really, I don't know what I would describe as a superpower other than that. I mean, that really is amazing to witness people do that. I witness that all the time in here. I witness people access that. And then the light that goes on with them about how capable they do feel and how loved they feel that someone took the time to really sit with them in their pain. So as difficult as it is, listening to people's pain and managing our own is, I think, at the heart of the superpower of listening and connection.
And is super empowering in that moment. Wow.
Super empowering.
Yeah, that's awesome. You ready for Q&A?
Ready for Q&A.
All right, it's time. It's time for Q&A. And this section of Q&A for this episode, we are concentrating on some of the comments that we've received over the last few episodes. Some really, really good comments. And the first one we want to talk about, the comment came from our Both And episode, which let me take a...
moment to pause in the
let
power.
me take a pause of wow.
Yes.
Is one of my all-time favorite episodes. I continuously go back to it.
It's a good one to listen to again and again.
It's so good. And I have seen so many comments come through about this. There has been a handout available and that will continue to be available for this episode. You will want to look at the handout because it is just amazing and it puts everything into perspective. But some of the comments that we've received from the Both And, really, this episode has given so many people, including myself, permission to feel two things, to accept a struggle that you've been feeling between two things and not knowing which way to go with a feeling. It's been amazing, and I know you've also seen some comments regarding the same thing.
Absolutely. I'm seeing very similar comments where people feel relieved that it's possible to hold conflicting emotions at the same time and that's okay. And the clarifying power of that, to be able to say, okay, in this way, I'm pretty angry, I'm pretty confused, and I also am enjoying this aspect of this situation, and I feel connected and satisfied when this is occurring. When people can hold all of that, it really lets them off the hook and relieves the pressure of the all or nothing, restrictive box.
Yeah. And one of the comments regarding, a family member situation that was like, look, I have a parent who I've struggled with and the relationship has been a struggle. And, on one side of my struggle, I really don't like the things that they do in this situation, in that situation, in that situation. On this side of my struggle, the other side of my struggle, I really do know that they care about me in this way and that way and this way.
And both are real.
And both are so real.
Yep. And we gave a similar example on the episode. I think I was using a brother as an example. And I have heard so many comments about that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So I am so glad that was really helpful. That was our purpose, and especially our purpose in putting the handout up was to give people a template to start to learn how to recognize the harder emotions in a situation that sometimes we want to avoid and deny. And also the ones that are more pleasurable and easier for us to acknowledge. And holding both of them at the same time is where the real magic occurs.
Absolutely. And if you have ever struggled with two opposing feelings of any sort, which I'm pretty sure is everyone.
Yeah, I'm certain that's humanity right there.
Go get the handout because it is just powerful to see that in front of you and it will help you in so many ways. And that's on the website at Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org.
Yes,
You
we'll
will
put
find
that back up under products and downloads.
So powerful. The other comment that we received coming from one of our other episodes, this was also just an amazing...
The lowdown on letdown.
So good. And in that episode, you gave what I think has possibly been the most, I don't know, just life-shaking, wonderful visual that I have ever been able to hear and then see. And now we have a visual to go along with it in the form of a handout also on the website. But this is about the umbrella with your emotions. We were talking about how you can umbrella your emotions.
Yes, especially with anxiety and frustration.
This has turned into such like a trendy little kind of way to describe how we feel.
Yes. And again, another shout out to Haley, who brought that graphic to life in such a compelling way. And that handout is available on the website as well. So many comments about people noticing themselves. And what I'm loving is that people aren't saying, I'm judging myself or I'm criticizing myself. They're saying, I'm noticing in my own dialogue or in the dialogue with others when I'm saying, oh, I'm really anxious about this. Oh, I'm super frustrated this happened. And then it's almost like a light bulb goes off and they say, wait a minute, I'm umbrellaing my emotions right now. Let me take a minute and see what I'm actually feeling. And then when they take just that minute, they discover actually, oh, I'm disappointed. I'm nervous. I'm doubtful. I'm excited. I'm angry. Then they actually are at the exact nature and they can address it.
I love that. And you've got to see this handout because it really just brings it to life.
It's my favorite handout. I love this handout.
It brings it to life. Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org is the website. Go there and check it out. And I can't end Q&A without a question. So here it is. And I think this is a question that you probably run into a lot, and I know people struggle with a lot. So this question came from Rich, and Rich says, I am nervous about getting into therapy, and that is my truth. I have a hard time finding the right therapist for me. How do you suggest people go about doing that?
Oh my gosh, such an important question. I'm glad we did not end the episode without addressing this. So first, let me direct you to our blog on our website because we have a blog series called Psychotherapy Mythbusters. So we cover some myths that are out there, I think commonly questioned about what psychotherapy is. So Rich, first let me invite you to read those. Those might clarify some aspects of this for you. And also, let me just say, we therapists know that the research says, and I say this to all of my new clients when they come in, the best clinical outcomes happen when there's a strong working relationship between a client and the therapist. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be kind of a click. So we know that the click needs to be there, and we want people to have that click. So if you go to a therapist and you don't feel that click, let them know. Ask for other referrals. Go ahead and get an initial appointment with 2 or 3 therapists and pay attention in the spirit of this episode. Listen to all the signs and signals your body is giving you during that session, because you'll know when you find a fit. It will click. You'll say, you know what? This person gets it. I can get my work done.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah. Listen for the click.
Listen for the click. We want you to get your work done. And if you don't feel the click, you won't get your work done.
And here's the thing, that is coming from a psychotherapist, because a lot of times, you know, as a person going into therapy, you feel like, I couldn't say that to the person. I couldn't say that to the therapist. I don't feel the click.
I would welcome that from clients. I would really welcome that. I think clinicians in general are really good at developing a safe place so people do feel that click, but sometimes it's just not there. And clinicians want to hear that, because no one wants to feel unhappy in the therapy relationship. We want to feel like we're helping people, and we want people to get helped. And frankly, when I have sought therapy in my life, I look for the click. If after 2 sessions, I'm not getting a click, it's time to look elsewhere.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org, the website, the blog, the buttons.
Oh, the buttons!
Come on. The handouts. It's all there. Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org, the newsletter. You're going to want to sign up for that. And share this episode with someone you know. And of course, drop off your 5-star rating and your review. And Allison will meet you right where you are.